What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, NVDA, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm break down some big news that just came out for the markets as we had some important earnings, and some very negative news that came out for Tesla's causing the share price to dip as we got a very, very big downgrade from another big company. But before I break you the devil's information, before I talk about why Tesla got this big downgrade and why the share price is starting to react negatively towards this news, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. And the offer ends very soon today in just about 18 hours. So check it out before they run out. Anyways, for news about Tesla, I just want to call out that Tesla got a price target cut again from a very, very important group of analysts from Evercore. This is very important because they had a price target of $155 a share. Now they're saying it's going to dip to about $145 again. And they're saying this because of the fact that with the different factors out there affecting Tesla, there's still going to be a lot of hardships in the way. They're still talking about how their sales are not in the strongest of positions. They're still referring to earnings and things like that. And despite what Tesla said about AI, they kind of implied that that's more longer term. And for the shorter term, there's a very, very good chance that Tesla will still see some more downside. So they have a price target of 145 on Tesla. They're continuing to cut their targets, and this has led to more downside for the share price. There's also some more news that came out that's not the best. Tesla will likely be conducting even more layoffs, and they could be getting rid of the entire supercharger team. So that's a little bit negative news for them. This news is right over here. After they laid off more than 10% of their global workforce, Tesla's laying off even more employees. That's including potential senior executives, longtime veterans of the company, and most notably the entire supercharging team and the executives responsible for negotiating the NACS adoption across the industry. This is a little bit negative news for them because, once again, their employees have been very, very grateful, very, very useful, and very, very important for the company's success. And with that happening, we're starting to see more news about how Drew Baglino, the former vice president of powertrain and energy engineering, who's been in the company for 18 years, could be part of that as he has once again, had to go through his resignation and such. So I just want to say I'm very grateful for him. They also lost a key executive, Rohan Patel. Also grateful for him and the work that he has done. And we're continuing to see more news about this. This is kind of negative for Tesla. It's negative for any company to see some great employees being lost. So it is what it is. There's also a lot of news coming out that's kind of criticizing Elon Musk and Tesla. I've been seeing this on headlines. They're saying that Elon Musk cannot solve Tesla's China crisis with his desperate Asia visits. So they have a very different perspective on this. They're basically saying that in China, things are very, very competitive, and globally, the competition is making things very difficult for Tesla. There are analysts that are saying that Tesla may struggle to compete with Chinese companies, which have been evolving, in their opinions, much quicker than that of Tesla. And the Chinese market is very, very different. So there's been a lot of talk about that, a lot of doubts about Tesla coming out from any headlines like this. I personally believe that Tesla will be just fine. They're going to absolutely crush it. I believe that FSD is once again going to be very useful for Tesla because once again they have a lot more data to be going off of, and they're far ahead of their competitions as they're investing tens of billions into AI every single year. So that's my view, but other people have different perspectives. I'm willing to respect that. That, once again, this was a desperate trip to Asia. Elon Musk is still going to be far behind many other Chinese companies, and the rest could be said. So we got a lot of negative news, negative headlines. It's almost as if the media has just it's kind of flipped back to negative about Tesla, and they're trying to get the share price down again. And that's what's happening once again right here. So for Tesla, we're going to be looking at some very, very key levels right over here. Look at resistance at 190 and then 192.5 if we were to break that. We're barely holding very close to our 20 EMA on the hourly time frame. Losing this, Tesla could come all the way down towards 187.5. And then if that breaks, 185 is going to be our next target. So watch and see if we hold 187.5 or not. Losing that would take us down to 185 and then eventually 182. There is definitely downside potential for Tesla looking at the current trend. And it's not looking the strongest right now, so just be careful. Right now, the news is very negative about Tesla, and that's what's affecting it. For data involving the markets, we just had the employment costs come out. As a reminder, 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the Chicago PMI report coming out. And then we also have 1 hour after market open, the Dallas Fed Services Index and the Dallas Fed Services Revenue Index. This is all coming out the day before FOMC, which is going to be tomorrow, so keep that in the back of your mind. But look for some volatility 15 minutes and 1 hour after the market opens. Now, lastly, let's just go over some earnings before I break everything else down. Today, we had PayPal, McDonald's, and Coca-Cola. They just announced their earnings. Later on, after the market closes, we have Amazon and PayPal. For PayPal, I'm sorry, Amazon and AMD is going to be, I'm sorry, guys, that's going to be after market close. Amazon and AMD's after market close. PayPal just came out. So for PayPal, it's lifted its 2024 profit forecast as spending stays resilient and margins have improved. So not bad whatsoever in terms of earnings growth. You guys can see that consumer spending has shown remarkable resilience even through everything that's been going on. They raised their full year profit forecast, which is great news for them. That's why shares are up, and they ended up doing relatively well when it comes to their EPS and revenue. So we saw their payment volume increase 14%. We saw their margins improve. We started to see nice growth. We got 84 basis points of improvement, so good earnings overall. EPS was a dollar. It rose by $1.08, which is not bad whatsoever, and overall not bad whatsoever when it comes to their net revenue, which is up to $7.7 billion. So yes, they had plans to cut jobs, but we're looking at good outlook and good growth. So PayPal is doing relatively well. So that's very very good news for them. And then finally, we also had Coca-Cola announce its earnings. Coca-Cola is also topping estimates. You can see right here, their EPS was a beat at 72 cents per share, and revenue is at 11.3 billion, above expectations. So good for them. They also raised their full year outlook for organic revenue, and we saw some nice growth overall. So we got good earnings from Coke. That's the reason why Coca-Cola is up so far. So amazing news for them. And then when it comes to other pieces of news, other factors, you can see that stocks are basically gaining more and more growth for now as we're approaching the FOMC meeting. But we'll see what that causes. McDonald's had mixed earnings, of course. I'm not going to talk too much about that. And besides that, Volkswagen basically reported a 20% drop in operating profit for the first quarter as it saw weaker demand for its premium brands. So a little bit negative news for them. That's the reason why it's down about 2%. But that's pretty much it for the timing in terms of the main pieces of news. Now let's just talk about the charts again. So once again, for Tesla, guys, there is a risk of this dipping now because the news has turned back to really very negative, and we have formed a temporary top right here. So when we watch to see how well Tesla holds up, it could rebound to the low 190s temporarily, then continue to fall. So just be careful with that. We're at support 187.5, so look for a little rebound before it continues lower. If we end up losing this 187.5 area, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 185 and 182. So there's risk of it dipping more. Look for a bounce initially before we see more potential downside. Now, SPY is in a very, very different place because if anything, I see on SPY that it actually dipped a little bit during the pre-market, but as you guys can see right here, there's still potential for us to try to rebound and retest this 510 area. 510 is going to be a tough resistance, so we'll have to see if we can try to break through this or not. Uh, if we rebound, if we manage to hold our key EMA right over here, I could see an attempt to rebound on SPY. We could try to retest like 510 before we potentially reject. But 510 is a very, very stubborn resistance. If we break that, 512 will come, but it's very, very tough right now to break through this. If we end up losing 505, we're going to likely fill the gap to 503, so we're going to show some weakness. So we'll just have to see what the reactions are to data. But just know the resistance at 510 is very tough. We could pop a little bit and retest this, but it's a very, very tough resistance. We have not been able to crack it yet, and it might just continue to kind of pop, retest that, and come back down. So I'm not seeing a sign of this breaking resistance yet, so we have to give this some time, and we'll see if the bears step in to try to defend. For the QQQ, if we break past 434, look for a push all the way up to about 437. And if we end up losing 430, we're going to be dipping back down. We ended up dipping a little bit on the QQQ, but as of right now, we're kind of range bound. So it could rebound a bit into the 432 area, then come back down to 430 and just continue to trade sideways. There is a risk of this dipping a bit more, so give this some time, and we'll have to see how it goes from here. For NVIDIA currently has support at 859. If we lose that, look for 848. I do see a risk of this dipping a little bit. It's still struggling to break through this resistance, so we might see a little pullback on NVIDIA. This could slow things down for the QQQs, just be warned about that. And then last but not least, we have Aapl. Aapl is on an uptrend overall, approaching its earnings. It could push higher, but we're starting to dip a little bit, so we could actually dip to about 172.5. I did call that out yesterday. So look for a little bit more downside on Aapl before it tries to bounce. So watch and see how that performs. Just for a few more, like Amazon. Amazon has earnings today, so the share price is going to likely shuffle between 180 and 182. Could go a little bit higher. That is still a strong possibility, so we'll give that some time. And then also we have Meta. Meta, in my opinion, is also kind of flat. We're struggling to hold at 430, so watch some shuffling around there. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping all the way down to about 424. So watch that very carefully. With that being said, guys, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.